So, a few weeks ago, I had the brilliant idea of ranking all 19 Hive Skywars maps in a tier list that I made. I also decided to stream it live on my Twitch channel so that my viewers could watch it along with me and give me their input as well. Look, I know that this video is extremely long as compared to most of my other videos, but just know that there are timestamps in the description if you'd like to skip around to whatever maps you want to see, and there's also a link to the tier list in the description if you'd like to fill it out for yourself while watching the video. Also, you should follow my Twitch channel. There's a very high chance that I'll be doing something similar to this again in the future, and if you'd like to see it live, that's the place to watch it. Alright, I'm gonna stop stalling, go get your popcorn, leave a like on the video, and enjoy this tier list of every Hive Skywars map. Obviously, you know, we got our tier list right here. We got S through D tier. There will be at least 1 or 2 maps in each of these categories. There's 19 maps in total, by the way, in all of Hive Skywars. So, with that being said, I mean, let's just go test out the first map, which is Wildwood. Wildwood, is the DZ clutch map. I mean, as you can see, the islands are like really long, which makes for long and like flat, which are good for clutching. The islands are fairly big, at least like the starter islands, and then like the pseudo middle islands are also pretty big. That's just nice for like finding ores and stuff to mine. There's not really an easy way to get to mid. I guess you can either go this way. What I usually do is I side rush the island next to me, kill the guy right here, and then go mid. Overall, a pretty solid map, I guess. Obviously, you can clutch on the sides of it, which is kind of cool. Which, obviously, like I said earlier, it makes the DZ map. This is where you see like half of DZ's clips, just because this is the best map to clutch overall on. The map's pretty solid. It's pretty cool. There's really no like bad solos map, honestly. It's not one of my favorites, but it's like not a bad map. Like I said, it's pretty cool, but it's like nothing that makes it stand out too much. Honestly, I would give this one a B. This one, it's like solid, there's nothing wrong with it, but there's just nothing that makes it like stand out and be like a really good map. B, it's straight in the middle. It's pretty good, I think. I guess next up we got Baroque or barbecue as some people call it. I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm not French. I think it's a French name, but let's give it a shot. All right, so Baroque, I've said this before, this is my favorite map. This is my favorite map by far. The islands, like every island, everything about it is just really good. The starter islands, there's a lot of space. There's a lot of space for ores. Basically, all of this can spawn ores and does spawn ores. Obviously, I got unlucky with the RNG, but sometimes you can get diamonds and like emeralds and stuff. A lot of them right there. That's really good. These are just extremely long to the point where there's also so many ores. Overall, I really like this map just because of like all of the ores and stuff that spawn on it. It makes it so that you can get loot, so that everyone can get loot, which overall leads to better fights. You have the ender chest in really close proximity of like, you know, the side islands. You can get to them really quickly, which makes that nice for just getting loot fast, and you can play rush heavy if you want to. This is just a really ore heavy map, and since Lucky Ores is like is Hive Skywars, I feel like that's what makes this map my favorite. There's just so much stuff, so much chaos, which is Hive Skywars, essentially. There's also the middle. It's so open. It's so good. That's another one of my favorite parts of this map, is the fact that it's just like, it's so open everywhere. Honestly, I mean, it's quite clear. Like I said, this is my favorite one. This one's going in an S tier for me. There's little that's wrong with Baroque, honestly. Overall, I just really like the map, and it's a very well-designed map. So, we got Violet Keep next. Probably my least favorite of all of the solos maps. My main gripe with it is that it's just all the islands are like really small. Like you see the sub-middle islands, they're like 2 blocks wide. Like, it's just so easy to knock people off there. Like, as you can see that, like, that fight took like 5 seconds just because if you get someone in a combo, they're off the map in a few hits. Let's walk right here. There's a wall right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, technically 7 blocks to the edge. All the fights are going to be short, and while that can be fun in some situations, it can also just kind of be annoying in a lot. So Violet Keep, it's not great. I can't say it's that fun to play on. I'm thinking we're putting that in C tier. It's not like a trash tier. It's not a bottom tier map. All the solos maps are pretty good, pretty solid, but it's not one that I would pick at the top. It's not one that I would vote. Next up, we got Pillars, desert map. Overall, I feel like Pillars, with the exception of mid, is kind of a Violet Keep Part 2. The islands are kind of small still. I don't like fighting on this island right here that I'm on. But like look how like far across this is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 blocks across at its smallest. The mid is decent. The mid is pretty good. It's pretty large. There's obviously like the bumps and stuff, which kind of make it weird. Also, you can't really clutch on this map. On these and on the regular islands as well, it's like really hard to clutch. Pillars, I'm thinking probably a B. It's not a bad map, you can't clutch on it. The mid is good, the semi-mids are kind of bad, but other than that, I honestly think everything else about the map is fine. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a B. Next up, we got Ivory. One of the better maps, one of my more favorite maps. Everything is just so big, there's a bunch of space, Huh? What? What? Clank's trying to ruin the video. We got some cinematic footage. So obviously the islands are pretty cool, pretty big, which is nice. You also have these long islands, which are also pretty wide, can make for some good fights. The mid honestly feels pretty claustrophobic, I'm not gonna lie. You've got this kind of open area right here, you got the open areas like out here and stuff like that, but it doesn't really lead to good fighting, it just kind of leads to running around and like kind of playing for space. I see more of the better fights on these outer islands. One thing that's like weird about this map is that you can like jump from mid to the outer islands, and then you can also, well wait, you might have to have blocks for this, I'm not sure. No, you can, okay, you can make that jump as well. People can run a lot. You only have to have like 7 or 8 blocks to get here, then you can literally get like anywhere else like in the map, which is weird but interesting. Honestly, kind of an unconventional map in that aspect, but that's not a bad thing. I think that's actually pretty cool. I like this map. I think it's pretty nice. I think my rating might go against the will of the people. A lot of people in chat are saying S. People can run quite a lot, and I don't necessarily like that. I just like being able to like have fights and stuff like that. I still really like Ivory, but not as much as Baroque. I guess without further ado, let's talk about Monastery. It's kind of weird. The top of the island is small, but then you've also got like ores on the sides. Honestly, I'd say a pretty ore heavy island, which is something that I kind of like. Honestly, no, this is a pretty standard map, I'd say. This is a fairly like standard, like how a Skywars map should look in play. You have to run pretty far to get to the mid chest, which can be kind of awkward. You might encounter people before you have gear, or if someone like just like straight up rushes, like has 2 pearls or whatever, they can get a mid, get all this stuff really quickly. The mid overall is like really big. A lot of the mid space is kind of wasted by like the grass and the water and the leaves and the fences and the posts holding up the buildings and stuff like that. And it's a weird mid because there's actually not that many ores. You end up fighting in a lot of the mid of Monastery. But it's also like awkward claustrophobic fighting as well. Overall, I kind of like it though, just because of how big everything is. There's a lot of space for kind of everything. Like even if you just fight on these islands, you've got a lot of space here as well, which is really nice. Overall, I kind of like this map, but I'm not sure how to feel about the mid. It's a large mid, but it's also, there's like too much stuff kind of going on. Other than the mid kind of being awkward, it's still big, which at the end of the day is a good thing in my book. Overall, I guess my thoughts on Monastery is just, it's a really solid map. It's a very solid map. The mid is kind of weird, but everything else about the map is really good. The starter islands are good. The semi-mids are pretty good. I'm going to give it an A. A lot of people are saying C or B. I'm going to give it an A. Weird mid. Everything else, though, I think is pretty good about it. I guess next up we're moving on to the duos maps, and we're doing Anora first, which I believe is one of the ones by Falbin. That's the one that I'm pretty sure he made, and I'm pretty sure he's in chat right now, so we gotta give some good feedback on this one. Right off the bat, one of my things that I really like about Anora is just at least the starter islands. They are extremely large. There's no like under area like a lot of other maps, but the starter island is like really big. All the ores are exposed. You never really have to like go searching for the ores you want. It's probably going to be there. The thing about Anora is kind of the big like ring around the entire map. That's Anora's thing. The middle's nice, but I don't know how good it is for PvP. It almost feels like it could be a It almost feels like it could be like a survival games middle. What Falvin just said, yeah, with this map, you and your teammate really need to stick together, which I think good thing. Some people will see it as bad. For people that are soloing, yeah, you're absolutely right. The semi-mids or I guess the semi-mid of the map, because you can just you can parkour between all of the semi-mids, right? Like right here, same right here, and then up there as well. Overall, the semi-mids and the outer, the spawn islands are pretty good. They're pretty cool. They're pretty pog. But the middle, I'm just lost on the middle. I don't like the middle of Anora, if I'm being completely honest. So I guess with that being said, there are some very good pros, with that being the outer islands and the semi-mid. All of those are really good, but the middle is just kind of lost. I'm torn between A and B here. Do a poll? I guess we could do a poll here. Well, it looks like we're picking B for this one. Chat helped me decide, so we'll put Anora at a B. But like a B+, a very high B. Alright, next up, we got Dynasty. I really don't ever see this map anywhere, ever. There's not, like, too much to say about this map. There's not too much that, like, makes it stand out as a Skywars map. You got the semi-mids here, which are really small, like 5 blocks across again, kind of like the semi-mids of Pillars. It's definitely like very cool architecture. I like how the map looks. It's very aesthetically pleasing, but like there's nothing that makes it like super special as a map. The map doesn't have a gimmick, I guess. And let me ask you this, for the people that like have seen gameplay of this map, when have you ever seen anyone go to this outer island right here? I really don't know why this exists. Overall, I guess, it's like, there's nothing that like stands out to me about this map, really. It's just kind of a small Skywars map. I honestly feel like this could probably be a solos map and do just as fine. There's 6 duos teams, just like maybe even downsize the island a little bit more, just replace that with another solos island, and this could be honestly an okay solos map. I guess, I don't know, it's kind of a very uninteresting map. I don't know if it really fits duos that well. I'm gonna put it at a C, if I'm being honest. There's nothing horrible about the map, but there's nothing, like, too great about it, either. It's kind of just like a meh map. Next up, we got the trapper's favorite, Meadow. I will already tell you, this is one of Evident's favorite maps to trap on. There's just so much stuff on it. They've got ladders, they've got carpet, they've got pressure plates, slabs, pots, trapdoors. The islands are pretty big. You can make a lot of stuff on them. There's a lot of stuff that you can like do on this map, which I think is what makes it enjoyable. It's actually a fairly long rush to the semi-mid. But then once you're here, there's a lot of space to like fight. There's easy ways to knock people off though. Overall, another very ore-heavy map. There's like a lot of ores that you can mine and get stuff out of. And then the middle is also, it's another extremely large middle, but there's actually space to do stuff. Obviously, like that can lead to running, but there's also like the ender chests are fairly plain sight, except for the one up there or somewhere. But like, I like this map. I will say like, these islands are kind of weird. They're kind of meant to be in the middle of that island and mid. Which is, I guess that's the purpose, but I almost never see anyone use those mids. Everyone just rushes the semi-mid. Overall, though, like, this is a pretty solid map. Like, this is another one of my probably top favorites, I guess. But this is another one where I'm kind of torn between S and A. There's really no downsides to this map. I think I'm gonna award our second S tier of the night. I think we're gonna put Meadow as another S tier map. Next up, we have Utopia. So, right off the bat, you can see that on Utopia, your starting island is tiny. It is extremely tiny. There's very few ores to mine as compared to something like Meadow. The gimmick of this map, I guess, is the 2-tiered mid. You can either be on top and get the ender chests, or you can be on the bottom and get a lot of ores, but there's no ender chests. I kind of don't like Utopia, just based on the fact of it being a 2-tiered mid, and it makes fighting awkward. You can just kind of like run through the entire mid, and that's kind of that. I don't know how to feel about like these, like the semi-mids at all. They're kind of awkward to fight on. If I'm being honest, I don't really like this map and kind of how it plays out. The islands are too small. The semi-mids are kind of awkward to fight on. The middle is really, really, really weird to fight on just because of the two-tiered, and just the terrain as well. If I'm being honest, I don't really like playing on Utopia as a map. You guys might disagree with me on this one. I'm giving this one a D tier. A lot of people have been saying that they like it more. I am not really a fan of Utopia. Next up, we got Galactic, the orange map. As you can see, everything is orange. I guess this map is meant to be on like Mars or something, which I guess would make sense. Galactic is supposed to be talking about space. It's a space map, I guess. As for like the semi-mids, like that is this map. This map is semi-mid. You don't have to go far to get to the semi-mids from your like starter island, but you have to go through basically from anywhere. You have to go through 2 semi-mids to get to the actual mid, and that's kind of this map's gimmick. Like I said, the actual mid is kind of nothing too special, I guess. There's obviously slime blocks, which can make for some fun gameplay. You can like slime block, clutch, and stuff. But there's like no ores in the middle. I guess there's nothing too special about the starter islands either. You've also obviously got like a building to go inside of. I don't really hate this map, but it's like not one of my favorites to play on either. Map's good for trapping. There's a lot of unique things you can do with like the items on this map. Overall, I'm probably going to give Galactic a C. It's not a horrible map. There's a couple of plus sides. The semi-mids can kind of be fun to fight on sometimes, even though they're kind of like thin. I'm going to give it a C. Next up, we've got Ruby, which I've given my opinions on in a different video beforehand, actually, and we'll discuss that a little bit more. So, Ruby, I've said this before, Ruby really, really should be a squads or trios map. It's just so large. Your starter island, it's extremely large. Like, this is the size of like Violet Keep's middle. And even when you go to the semi-mid, the semi-mid is larger than probably like the area of some maps. It's just ginormous. And honestly, there's a little bit more ore density on the semi-mid. This is probably the largest mid out of like any map, I'd venture to say. It's extremely large. Like, overall, this map is just on par with like with what a squads map should look like. This doesn't fit. This should be a squads map. The fights don't really happen that often. This is honestly a good map for like big custom servers, just because it can accommodate a lot of people. And with all that being said, while the map is big, it's still fun to play on. The map looks really, really good. The map looks amazing. And I'll give the Hive build team that. It looks really cool. Lots of like kind of unique items and things you can do with the map. Stuff like the water down here, the traps they use by Evident. You got like trapdoors, and you can't clutch on this map, however. It's just next to impossible to clutch. The islands are like round. You can't really do anything with those. But it still just shouldn't be a map in duos. Very mixed opinions about Ruby overall. This is another one that I guess I'm kind of conflicted on. It looks very nice. You can have some good fights because it's so large. Well, I like how the map... I really, really like how the map looks. I will give them that. That's like kind of the redeeming factor here, but it shouldn't be a duos map. I think I'm gonna give it a C tier. Next up, we got all the trios and squads maps. First, we got Bazaar or Bazaar. I don't know how to say this map, but let's give it a look. Bazaar is kind of like a weird map, I feel like. It can be very good for like the big custom games, but for like actual gameplay, you have to have like 32 blocks just to like even reach mid. I think that's a little bit more than what you need for most other maps. It's one long full send to mid instead of like a hop between an outer mid, which kind of makes this map unique, but also weird. Also, as for the starter island, you got a lot of ores right here. You shouldn't have any trouble, like, getting stuff for yourself. But also, like, I never really see much of, like, the starter island used. Just because it's so far out, everyone just kind of goes mid and fights there. Like, see, we're already in mid right here, like, what, 30 seconds into the game? Everyone's just kind of chilling in mid fighting already. And for inexperienced players, it takes a while to get to mid just because of how far it is. Like I said, you pretty much have to full send in order to actually make it to mid within a reasonable time frame. I guess if anything, this is just kind of another like weird, unique map, I guess. I don't dislike the map. It can definitely make for some very decent fights. I can't say it's necessarily one of my favorites, I guess. For Bazaar, like someone said in my chat, I feel like It's a bad map for newer players just because of like the bridge to mid and how long it takes to get a mid. Everyone's going to be there. Everyone's going to have all the loot. For good players, it's not a bad map. Mid's pretty open. You can have some good fights there. Overall, I think I'm going to give Bazaar a B tier. Actually, I guess for my other ratings, the ones that I've given not great, not horrible to are C. I think we're going to move Bazaar down to a C tier. I'll give it a C tier. I know a lot of chat's saying D tier. I don't think it's a D tier map. I think it's a C tier map. It's pretty fun to play on if you can get a mid quickly. It's a good map for customs, but for actually playing the game and for newer players, it's not the best. Next up, we have Armada, the pirate ship map. The only map on the Hive that has loot boxes. If you don't know what I mean by that, these are the Hive's loot boxes. You open them up, and you can sometimes get really good RNG, like this loot box right here. But then you can also get kind of relatively bad luck with things like these where you just get 2 gold blocks. In terms of ores and like the amount of ores on your starter island, there's honestly not that many. In terms of the actual mid, it's pretty spacious and there's a lot of like space to fight. Honestly, there's a lot of space on this map, which makes it good for like fighting and stuff like that, while also still not being like huge to the point of other maps where it's just like not even fun to fight or play on. There's like nothing really wrong with this map. There's nothing that I dislike about it. It's pretty good. Honestly, I think in terms of gameplay, the map is really, really good. In terms of like aesthetically pleasing, I guess it's not the greatest. The starter islands aren't too good in terms of loot. I'm gonna go ahead and give Armada an A tier. I think it's really good, but I don't think it's like great to the point of like, I really want to play this map. I will vote for this map every time just because it's my favorite. It's still a really, really good map, and I really, really like it. It's going in the A tier. Next up, we have Beyond, which used to be called Harvest, but they updated it since that was kind of like their fall and winter map. It had the honey blocks and stuff like that, if you know that. So, we got Beyond, which used to be a pretty cool looking map, I feel like. It used to look really, really, really nice with like the nighttime, like the honey and the yellows and the reds and the browns. Now, it just kinda looks depressing, not gonna lie. Just like gray, very dark green, brown, more gray. Obviously, you have the colors and the team colors, but like, if I'm being honest, I really don't like how Beyond looks now. Also, there used to be honey blocks that you get from the trees. You cannot get those anymore. That was one of the fun parts about this map, and now it's kind of gone. As for like the starter islands and the mid, or the semi-mids, there's not really too much to say about them. Again, it's kind of a ring structure where you can kind of go around with like minimal blocks. Obviously, I don't like how this map looks at all. The gameplay is kind of meh, kind of rush heavy. I used to like the old map a lot better. There was a lot of like versatility with it. Honestly, I don't really like Beyond. I'm not really a big fan of it. I guess there's really just not too much to say other than the map doesn't look the greatest and basically whoever just gets to mid controls it. That's really all there is to say. It's kind of just a drab and bland Skywars map. I'm kind of torn here. It's between a C and a D. I kind of want to give it a D just because there's no real redeeming qualities. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of the map, really. Next up, however, we do have the newest Hive Skywars map at the time of making this, called Campsite. So I guess I haven't really played too much on Campsite. Obviously, I've played it with, like, Evident for trapping, and that's kind of my experience with this map. I haven't just like played it just like as a normal player yet. There's honestly quite a lot of ores. You can get a lot of ores and stuff off your island, which is pretty cool. There's no like ring structure at all. You basically just have a semi-mid. You have islands over there that no one really uses. And then you've just got mid, which is fairly standard, if not maybe a little bit small. Mid comparatively. There's not that many ores in the middle. There's like none in the house, relatively few. In like kind of the outer parts of the mid island. Overall though, the map looks really nice. It looks really cool. You aren't really going to be able to clutch at all. It's just kind of flat islands, like a little bit of a nub at the bottom. Another kind of mixed feelings maps in terms of actual gameplay. One plus side though, it's a fun map. I will say it's a fun map in the fact that there's so many like new and different items. There's composters, campfires, you got like beds, trapdoors. There's so much versatility with how this map can be played. It's not just like a generic like just rush mid, kill everyone, that's it. Overall, I like Campsite as a map. It's kind of mixed. I think I'm gonna give it a B here, but overall, it's a cool map. It's relatively new. It's still fresh, which is a good thing, but in terms of like gameplay, I don't know if it's the greatest. Next up, however, we do have Castle, which is kind of another classic map that indeed another guy in chat, Falbin, who made Anora and I think Pillars as well. Either way, Classic is just another one of those classic maps that I think kind of everyone knows how to play and how it plays. I'm gonna say it, I enjoy this map. I enjoy playing on this map. The islands usually are big enough for you to get enough stuff for what you need to go to mid. It's also a relatively quick rush to mid as well. Obviously, you need probably around like 20 to 30 blocks. There are a lot of chests in mid. I just got almost full diamond out of a chest. There's 4 of them in the center mid area, but then there's also some ender chests on the outer areas as well. If you get to mid, you don't necessarily control it because people can still get good stuff. Just because in general, the entire mid, this is probably one of the largest mids. Maybe only rivaled by like Ruby on the entire server. Usually everyone's pretty fast to mid as well. You can get some good fights once you're in mid. And also, you can also clutch relatively... I wanted to clutch while I was saying that and I messed it up, no. While it didn't necessarily work out that well for me, this map is also extremely easy to clutch on. This is probably one of the deepest voids and one of the deepest islands you can clutch on in all of Hive Skywars. And overall, I just think the map plays out really well. I think this is kind of a general community favorite map. Mid's pretty big, lots of loot kinda everywhere for you to get. Kind of the ring feature outer islands. Overall, this is also just a really good map that I don't really have too many downsides or negatives for. Honestly, I think Castle is going to be our third S tier map. I think it's just a really good map that's enjoyable to play on. I really don't have anything negative to say about it. Pretty pog map if you ask me. Alright, next up, and I guess our penultimate map is Spellbrook. Spellbrook, I feel like, is kind of another very standard Hive Skywars map. Honestly, for squads, this is a pretty standard island size that we've got right here. Obviously, you've got the well, which is kind of one of the gimmicks of this map. It's not too long of a rush to mid, honestly. A little bit of a longer rush right here, but not too much. And then one of the other gimmicks is that you have an almost completed ring around the entire thing. There's only like 4 gaps, I believe, in the entire ring. Once you're in mid, most of the ender chests are actually on the outside of the house, and there's 2 down in the bottom right here as well, which just kind of whoever gets there gets it. Usually more people actually end up rushing to mid in this game. Not really many people went to mid, but usually you have some good fights in mid. But even if you have them on the outer islands are big enough to where you can still have some fairly decent fights. Overall, I guess there's not really too much to say about it. I don't dislike the map at all, but it's kind of your vanilla Hive Skywars map. It just kind of plays like a Skywars map should. Overall, I guess with Spellbrook, there's nothing wrong with the map at all. It's a solid map, but there's nothing that makes it stand out and makes me go wow about it. Honestly, I'm gonna put it in B tier just because that's pretty much what we've done with every other map that is kind of like that. And finally, on the last item of our tier list, after almost 2 hours of doing this on stream, we have Temple. So, I will definitely say that Temple is a very, at least on your Star Island, a very ore-heavy map. I'll definitely say that it's a bit of a longer rush to mid. You've kind of got 2 long jumps. You probably are going to need about 32 blocks. But you also have a break in between, unlike Bazaar, which we had earlier. Once you get into mid, however, basically all of the chests are on the inside. So once you like get into mid and you get all the stuff, you've basically taken control, and it's just kind of the theme that we've been seeing on the squads map of just rushing mid and you've gotten the map and all of the loot. There's definitely a little bit of a ring structure, but it's a little bit less compressed than the other like rings that we've seen around the maps. I guess what I've got to say about Temple though is it's a pretty solid map, but like I guess it's just, honestly I like playing on this map. It looks really nice. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put Temple at an A tier. It's a solid map, but it still doesn't have like the extreme wow factor or just the things that like make me want to always play on this map like the S tier maps. So chat, YouTube viewers, there we go. There is our tier list for all of the Hive Skywars maps. Took way longer than I thought it would, but I mean, there's our tier list. Obviously, you're free to disagree with them. there will be a link to fill out your own tier list of them if you'd like to. You can share it with me, you can share it with your friends, whatever you want to do. Honestly though, I had a lot of fun doing this, so definitely be sure to let me know if you enjoyed this. We can do tier lists for other things like Treasure Wars, survival games, or Hive games, or even other servers, so be sure to let me know. And also, there are a couple of things that I'd like to address before I end the video. First off, there was no disrespect intended to the Hive or to the creators of these maps if I gave your map a bad rating or a rating that you don't agree with. If you'd like to let me know your thoughts about what I said in the video, tell me in a comment below. While I don't always respond to everything, I read pretty much every comment that's left on every video on my channel. I'll see it if you've got feedback. Also, before we end, I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my YouTube channel members. They support me for $4.99 a month, and they get some cool perks like getting their names displayed at the end of every video. If you'd like to check out what other perks channel members have, or become a member for yourself, you can do so by clicking the join button next to the subscribe button, or by clicking the members link in the description. Once again, thank you to all of my YouTube channel members. I know this was a long one, and if you made it to this point in the video, huge props to you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.